This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, this is Len Sierra for the High Risk Advanced Recurrent Prostate Cancer Support Group meeting, Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. And we're going to start with Jerry Deans. So Jerry.
Hi guys, glad to be on the call with you guys. I just wanted to give everyone an update. To be really brief, I've been fighting this disease for 22 years now, and I've almost run out of FDA approved treatments. So I'm very interested in PSMA, and I'm interested in LU-177 going forward. And I'm hoping for early FDA approval of that those treatments. I am PSMA avid. I know that from having gotten it up 2 years ago at Columbia. So I've been to Hopkins. I've been to UVA. I've hooked up with Dr. Antonarakis. Dr. Drake is my quarterback. And so I went to UVA, didn't get a lot of treatment help there, but he did tell me I better update my bucket list. It was real important that I be intentional about the rest of my life. And for that, I'm very thankful. So at the end of June, I'm going to be scuba diving down at Key Largo. Are y'all hearing me okay? Because I'm getting feedback.
Yeah, I apologize. The gentlemen, if you're not speaking,
y'all hear me okay?
Gentlemen, if you're not speaking, please.
Okay.
Yourselves. Thank you. There is some feedback, as Jerry said.
Yeah. So I've got this scuba diving trip laid in for the end of June. Meantime, next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, I'll be going up to Hopkins to meet with Dr. Denmead with the recommendation of my doctor and Dr. Antonarakis that I give BAT consideration, bipolar androgen therapy. And Dr. Denmead, of course, is the godfather of that treatment, and I feel fairly certain that that may be in my future. I finished up a round of carbazitaxel and carboplatin in February, so I have my PSA has not shot up since then. It's in the 60 to 70 range, and I'll get another measurement in a week or so. But assuming it hasn't doubled in the last month, then the bipolar androgen treatment may be a good solution for me. And it may buy me some time. It may re-energize my androgen receptors. I'm hoping for that. I have not been on abiraterone, and Dr. Antonarakis suggested that I might want to try that one. And particularly after the BAT treatment, I could get some mileage with one of the androgen, the novel androgen treatment drugs. So that's kind of where things are. I'm interested to hear what's going on with PSMA approval, and I'm interested to hear if anybody knows if LU-177 is coming sooner or later down the pipeline. I've heard possibly as early as June, but I may be wrong about that.
Did you hear June for an NDA submission or June for approval? I'm not even sure if an NDA has been submitted.
Is that right? Okay. So
yeah, I don't know. Anybody else know? Has an NDA been submitted for lutetium?
There was a recent Zoom meeting with Alicia Morgans and Dan Spratt, and Alicia Morgans had mentioned about that a few days ago, that she expected approval within days. But it's questionable, like you're saying, where's the paperwork per se for that?
Carl, was she talking about scanning or was she talking about the treatment option?
Yeah, that was
Oh.
the scanning agent, 18F DCF PYL,
Right.
PSMA PET. That wasn't lutetium.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I did think that an NDA had been submitted, but I'm not sure. That's Dr. Geller's realm. No, that's not my realm. I can stand down on those issues now, but I did think that that Novartis had submitted something on that, but I'm not 100% sure. Do you have any idea?
From the Vision trial, Rick?
I think so, but I'm not sure.
I believe it has been submitted
Yeah,
because they're not accepting any more in.
that was kind of my gut.
UVA indicated to me that the lutetium was going to present a dilemma for the FDA because of the need to have the PSMA scanning approved fairly widespread. And so the approval of the PSMA scanning is, I think, bodes well for what might follow with lutetium. But it doesn't sound like it sounds like it's more clear that the scanning is going to be approved and not so clear that the lutetium is going to follow quite so quickly.
You know, I mean, what we do know is that there are several lutetium trials that we've seen guys get into in the last two to 3 months. So we can name 3 different trials that we've seen guys in with 3 different radioactive agents, and I think 3 different molecules, both large molecule and small molecule. So I don't think it's out of the question, even if it isn't approved, to get into a trial. The question is where that trial is and how convenient it would be for you. But I think the bigger issue for you right now is whether it's worth doing this BAT in the interim as a tide over, or whether you're better off. And have you had Provenge, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've had just about every treatment known to man, Rick, as you know.
Yeah, I know that. I just couldn't. But so I mean, here's been our experience with BAT, but there was a recent study, and I haven't read it, and I think it was more optimistic. But what we've seen with the BAT with guys, this is anecdotal, that have used it, is that it has had some impact, but it's been very short-lived. And I think if I was meeting with Denmead, I would be asking him, where's the evidence that you get that it has more than about 8 or 9 months impact on either PSMA progression or radiotherapy, or screening progression, whatever they call that, RPS. I mean, that would be my gut. I'm interested. Anyone else on the call have any thoughts on BAT or has considered it? I don't think there's any of you have done it, but any other feedback on bipolar androgen therapy?
Didn't we hear a report that said, you know, don't trust everything you saw in the literature, that the real experience was much a shorter time than was reported? And I forget where that came from, whether it was from Antonarakis or whatever. I just remember hearing that at one of our meetings. Maybe was it from you, Joel?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Joel. Joel, have you ever discussed BAT with Dr. A?
No, no, I have not. And what you said, Rick, I think is right on based on what I've read. Sam Denmead just had a lecture on Euro Today about a week or two ago. And what you said about short-lived is correct. That's what he said also. And so I think we're a year or two away from lutetium before it gets approved. The only thing I know about Johns Hopkins does have a lutetium clinical trial, but it's full because I had one of my guys try to get into it, couldn't get in.
Well, there are those
and
trials
I'm
in New
not
York.
eligible for most lutetium trials. I'm sorry, I cut somebody else off, but I'm not eligible for most lutetium trials. I haven't ruled out all of them, Rick, and I intend to go back and figure that out. I am more inclined to respond than some people to the BAT because I have one of the mutations that makes me more likely. Of course, we won't know, but I'd take 8 months at this point in time. You know, if it would give me 8 months, I'd take it willingly, or even 6.
Yeah.
So Jerry, what mutation do you have?
Is it a PTEN? I believe is the one that he said made me a more likely than some to respond.
I just read an article.
That was Antonio Rakis because he was looking.
They were looking at biomarkers to see which were the guys who would respond to BAT therapy. And unfortunately, I don't remember, but I can probably try and find it.
I thought it was SPOP, Lynn. I just remember SPOP as being predictive of a better response, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. See if you can find it, Herb. I'll see if I can find it.
All right, I'll look right now.
Okay.
Well, Antonio Rakis told me that I did have a mutation that made me slightly more, or some degree of success better than the average person without that mutation. So I guess I'll know more after I meet with Dr. Denmead, and I'll definitely report back to the group what's going on.
Good. Appreciate that, Jerry. I can tell you, as Joel said, I couldn't even find that anyone has submitted an NDA yet for lutetium-177. So that would
No,
mean
there is one.
there is one submitted?
Yes.
Not the
I just downloaded the PDF that gives the number.
But not, are you sure it's not the dotatate?
That's dotatate, yes.
Oh, no. But he needs the PSMA PET.
I see.
So just to help you out, Mr. Deans, I just happen to have your liquid CDX Foundation Medicine report handy.
Yeah.
And it shows an AR mutation and then PIK3CA. That might be the one. PIK3CA. There's also PIK3R, but PIK3CA is a fairly, I won't say common, but it crops up a few times. That's the only thing that I see on there. AR, PIK3CA, PIK3R1, TET2, and another TET2 that I'm not familiar with. They may mean something to Herb. So my guess is it's PIK3CA.
It could be that it's an earlier test as well, too, because I had some by Caris and I had some earlier tests by Foundation One.
Okay.
So we'll see.
This is from October of 20. So this would have been probably the most recent one. So that one's about 6 months old. But anyway, look, I mean, I certainly hear what you're saying. I mean, the BAT is a real option. The Abbey is a good option because you're going to know pretty quickly if you get anything out of it. And we have obviously a lot of people who have experience with abiraterone. I mean, probably that's where I would be going if it were me. One of those two. I'm just skeptical about the BAT. I just have to say. I mean, I'm just skeptical about it. But you're going to go see Den Mead. You're going to ask him. Just make sure he doesn't put his sales hat on. Make sure he's not wearing white shoes, Jerry. Just make sure he's not wearing white shoes.
White shoes, huh? Okay.
Yeah. If he's wearing white patent
I'll check
leather
that out.
shoes, be careful.
Okay, I'll do it. Well, I've taken quite a bit of time, so let me just go ahead.
No, I was just going to say.
More from you, Jerry. After you see Denmead, let us know, please. And I think we're going to go to Gallo right after Jerry. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good transition.
Well, I can hit across at least the highlights, and then if Jerry's interested in getting the PSMA PET, getting into that trial, I can also give him specific contact information as well. Because I had the PSMA PET done, the PYL version done last Tuesday. It went without a hitch. The preliminary results at the time while I was there, I met with Dr. Berengi, who is running that trial for the VA. And on quick glance, we went through, looked at the images, and he said looked like everything was pretty much contained within the prostate. Nothing seemed to be outside. And the report that I just got at the end of the week indicated the same. So that that was absolutely good news as far as I was concerned. I have passed the report and an electronic version of the images over to two of my docs at Fox Chase. Andres Correa, who is the urologist, and Karen Wong, who is the radonc there. I think I mentioned probably on a different call because someone said, well, who's Karen Wong? Karen Wong is apparently a protege of Eric Horowitz, who is sort of one of the gurus out of Fox Chase. Apparently, they tell me, besides, actually, she's willing to admit it, that she feels that she's been molded in his image and been proceeding for an extended period of time. PSMA PET is available at the West Los Angeles VA for veterans without specification of condition. Could be initial evaluation, initial diagnosis, which Res Berengi wants to cover, as well as recurrent. Again, so anybody who is even somewhat interested, I can give them the contact information and they can get a hold of them. They do the procedure twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. It has an isotope that lasts a bit longer than the G68, which was done up at UCSF. The G68 had a half-life of hours. Whereas the PYL has a half-life of days. Just wrap up, I guess, where I'm at. I've had some preliminary discussions with Karen Wong as well as with Korea. The initial take is that the procedure I would be going through would be a short course of IMRT with a brachy boost. That would be 26 sessions of the IMRT with 2 sessions of a brachy rather, and likely followed, if not concurrent, with an EDT that could be anywhere from a lot to be evaluated yet, but anywhere from 4 to 6 to as much as 24 months of the relugolix. That's the condensed version. I don't know what I missed because I've been asked to give this so many times. I don't know what I've said, but what. And Rick, you know where it's at because I sent you a copy of the report, so you can you can stop.
Joe, I got some questions for you.
Sure.
How did you feel? Did they treat you professionally out there? Were you afraid of COVID at all in the LA hospital, given it that it's in LA?
No, of course, Chicago. LA is still under masks, so it was masked all the time, including at the VA. But professional was perfect. They were absolutely good. The staff was extremely helpful, courteous. I mean, I couldn't have asked for it to be better. And Berenji, even though I was talking to him between patients, we spent a good 45 minutes anyway, discussing a lot of issues, mostly around us, but then looking at some of the futures, which is when I got shocked when Len and I heard the comment about that he didn't say this, that when Alicia said that it was going to be approved in 8 days. That I thought was a misstatement. You know, I got the impression from talking to him, he was looking for approval this year, you know, and nearer term.
According to several doctors that I've heard speak on video in the last 6 months, including Michael Morris and Oliver Sartor, and now Alicia Morgans, I've always heard the 28th of May was the date. And I've known this now for the past 5-6 months. So whether it comes true or not, I don't know, but that's what I know. Now, back to LA a second. I am planning to do it just what you did in the month of June. Alex gave me the dates. Alex sent me the paperwork. I filled out the paperwork and returned it to him. What's my next step? I asked him that exact question, but he hasn't replied back to me in email yet. So what's my next step that I can expect?
They'll give you a date, and then you know, unfortunately, there's not much help with getting you there, so you'll have to get to LA on your own, out of your own pocket, which is what I did. But you would then go to the VA facility right there, which is, you know, on the same property, the hospital, and it was walked in, signed the papers, got a quick brief about who was going to do what, and then emptied my pockets and got on the table.
So they give you a date. You can't choose a date, correct?
They give you some options with it. I was able to get in pretty much at my own. I was within 2 weeks, and that was mainly because I wanted to allow you know, some other information to come in. But they said they do it pretty much every Tuesday and Friday.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the info.
And they just got a brand new scanner, so they are running 2 scanners now, and rather than 1. Oh, even good. Though the old scanner, as he points out, was only 2 years old.
Ravi is commenting in the chat box that he contacted the company that makes PYL, and they're confident of a May approval. We've
Yeah,
only got 2 days left in May.
that's right. So I contacted them a few months ago. I contacted them February. So that's when they said end of May. No, things may have shifted after that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's coming up in a couple of days. Yeah, I'm half tempted to send an email because I've had both good phone and good email exchange with both Alex and Berengi. So I may just pop him in and say, hey, you know, I heard, and see what he says. But it's good if they can get it. They're really, you know, he was very optimistic that was going to continue. He did ask that I continue to refer anybody and everybody, any vet that would come in, and he's looking for guys from East Coast to the central part of the country, predominantly, only because he's had most of his current cohort of 200, give or take, is mostly from the West Coast.
So I just found an article in Urology Times where it says, quote, the FDA is scheduled to make a decision on the NDA on or before May 28th.
Oh, there you go.
Any idea on how long that would take for these other facilities that want to do it to ramp up to actually start using it from the date that it's approved?
I think because it's a company behind it, it's going to be pretty fast.
Yeah, the one of the current trial is that there's no out-of-pocket cost and no insurance concern, you know, from a financial point of view. So that's, you know, avoiding about a $3,000 charge.
It's I'm scheduled to do on July 1st at the UCLA facility, and that's going to be $3,300.
So I asked the company as to how long it might take for them to go on production scale in terms of distributing it to all the centers at that time I was just interested in the East Coast, and they said, well, if it gets approved end of May, you can expect by around December or so, or end of December at the latest, for it to be distributed on a mass scale.
All right, guys. I'm going to move on to our newcomer, Peter Hake, which would probably take about 20 minutes. Is there anybody who needs to drop off within 20 minutes or so and speak tonight?
Len, if there isn't, I just want to there is I think somebody who's new, who came in late. Blee, is this the first time you've been in this group, Blee?
Hi, yes. First time I've been in any group.
In any group? Well, let me just explain to you how we work, because I'm going to leave it to the moderator to make his own decisions. But we always give new people preference, and we give them time. That said, we ask you to be here within the first 10 minutes, because as you can see, it's a pretty big group. And so if you're not here within the first 10 minutes, you kind of lose priority.
I'm good with that. I'm okay.
Now, if we don't get to you, and we meet every week, and you'll be here on Monday, next, when is it? A week on Monday. And you'll definitely be up right at the beginning, but I will leave it to Len to decide how he wants to handle this.
Gee, thanks, Rick.
I'm willing to acquiesce if this is Blee's first role. I'm willing to acquiesce.
I'm not sure I can speak right now, so I might need a week or so. So okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty overwhelmed by it all.
I'm sure.
It's a lot.
Okay, Blee, is that
we know what you mean.
Is that your first name, last name?
It's my middle name. It's a family name. It's
Blee.
just kind of.
I'm going to go by Blee. Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Here's what I would say. Because we don't have a meeting next week because of the funny calendar and everything, feel free to reach out to us in the interim. Okay. I'll put in, just check the, if you look in the chat box in a second, I'll put my and Len's, I'll give you 3 or 4 of the moderators, and just reach out to us if you need to process this. If we don't get to you, there's an awful lot of knowledge in this group, and if you've been diagnosed de novo metastatic, there's a lot of guys that have identify with you and give you a lot of hope. So
Blee, let me ask one quick question. Where are you located?
I'm in Central Virginia. I'm just outside Charlottesville.
Okay.
That's probably closest to Mr. Dean's, isn't that right, Mr. Dean? If you were at home, that's close to you, isn't it? You're muted.
Yes, it is. It is close to me, and I'd be glad to talk to him. I've got a long track record with this disease, and most people feel better after talking to me for a while.
Let me put you on speed dial.
Yeah. Blee, I'll give you all of these. I'll give you all of these. This information momentarily. I'll send you a message. And
I don't want to interrupt your meeting, really.
That you're not interrupting. That's what you're here for. But we just have some regulations. I picked up your email, so I put you in the database, and you'll get a reminder before the next meeting. One quick question: are you under 60 or over 60?
I'm 61.
Okay. Well, then I'll leave that up to Mr. Anderson to decide whether he welcomes you to the under 60 group or not. That's his decision. We let our moderators run their groups, okay?
Is this the under 60 group?
No, this is not the under 60 group.
I'm not sure what group I belong in, frankly.
Thank you for asking, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is the group. This group is high risk recurrent. Have you been diagnosed with high risk disease or recurrent or metastatic disease?
So I'm a 4+3 Gleason. I had positive margins. I had invasion of the bladder, neck, and the LVI, the lymphovascular invasion.
Yeah.
My Decipher came back high risk. So
yeah, you probably belong in this group because of the nature of the treatment that you're going to go through. And we've got another gentleman.
That's one of the questions I have. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got another gentleman, Ravi, who's in a similar situation to you right now. But you could also go to Peter's. Peter isn't on today, but you could go to the low intermediate. It depends what you want to listen to and what you want to hear. But we'll work with you and start off with Mr. Deans because he's the best. Okay.
All right, Mr. Deans, you asked for it.
Okay. Rick will give you my phone number, and I'll be glad to talk to you.
Back to you, Len.
Okay. Thank you for understanding, Blee.
Of course.
So let's get on to Peter Hake. And Peter, I'm going to go through a series of questions we ask all of our first timers. How old are you?
I am 54. I think my screen has froze up, but I'm 54.
No, we hear you and you're moving.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So you're good.
Yeah.
And you're also a candidate for Ken Anderson's under 60 group, but we'll get back to that another time.
Well, like I said, I'm just kind of trolling for information at this point.
Yep.
Because I find myself in a weird situation. That's all.
Okay, where do you live, Peter?
In New Jersey.
Okay, what town?
Outside of Trenton, so central New Jersey.
Right. Okay. And how did you hear about ANCAN?
I got involved with a local support group. One of the participants in that group sent me a link to the ANCAN. And I was on the support group last night for the low risk and intermediate. I'm just, like I said, I'm just looking for, I'm just trolling for information because, again, I find myself in a very odd situation, and it's become apparent to me that it's more odd as I participate in these support groups.
Okay. So what year were you diagnosed?
Probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
I was a 3+3. I had 3 cores that were suspicious. 1 core was, I believe, 50%, whatever that means.
Okay.
I opted for the IMRT. That was probably in 2016. The lowest my PSA score went was, I think, 2 before it started to climb back up again.
What was it before treatment?
I'm sorry?
What was it before the radiation?
6.
Okay.
Okay. I opted for the radiation because I felt like it was the least intrusive process.
Okay.
Since the radiation, maybe 2 years ago, my PSA started to climb again. My urologist sent me for CT, bone, PET with Axemin scans. All the scans came back negative. The PSA continued to rise. He sent me again the following year. Again, all negative. I was participating. I think the last time I participated in this group, I was admonished for not involving myself with an oncologist. And a few names were dropped. One of them was Michael Morris at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York. I'm actually doing business with Morris now. I think he took my case because it's such a weird situation to not show anything on the scans. My highest my PSA got was back in March of this year, and it was 60. Okay. I am now currently taking the Relugulux. I've been taking it for about 5 weeks. I go for blood work tomorrow to see where I'm at, and I do a sit down with Morris on Friday to kind of assess where I'm going from here. I'm just trying to find out more information about the Relugulux, but from what I can gather, there's not a whole lot of information about it.
Well, it's an oral anti-androgen, so it stops your testosterone production.
I understand what it does, but I was just kind of hoping, because the odd thing was that Sloan Kettering had me scheduled for blood work and for end of April. And prior, working up to that, Morris's office was, going back and forth with my insurance company about approving this prescription for this outrageously expensive medication. He got the approval, so I had taken it for literally 5 days before I went for blood work. And my blood work dropped from a 60 to a 40 in 5 days. So I was a little off-put by that. I was a little concerned that it was rather drastic. So I just concerned about what else this stuff might be doing to me. Is it also affecting my liver? Is it also affecting my kidneys? I don't know.
You might be the first prostate cancer patient to be upset that his PSA is dropping rapidly.
Well, I went to my primary care doctor, who is, an outspoken ass, but he's a smart guy. So, okay, I'll do business with him. And he said the same thing. But it weirded me out that it was such a drastic drop so quickly, because my it was March 26th that my PSA was at 60, and it had been gradually rising over the past, 2 years. April 23rd, it's at 40 after taking this medication for 5 days. So I was just concerned. I'm concerned that what else is this stuff doing to me? I should note that the whole process since onset, I have never experienced any symptoms. Nothing. I don't even get up during the night to pee. Nothing. So I had my doubts about this whole thing, but you go for the biopsy, you have the PSA. Okay, so I find myself in this weird situation of not experiencing any symptoms, the scans not showing anything, and the PET scans of Axemin are they're no slouch either. According to Morris, the PSMA scans are better for lower PSA scan or PSA numbers. Once you get into the higher PSA numbers, the PSMA scan is not as accurate. So he did another PET with Axemin back in January, which showed some iffy. Maybe there's an issue in the lymph nodes near the prostate. There was a follow-up MRI, and I recently did the needle biopsy, the MRI guided needle biopsy. That sample went to the lab to see if there's any sort of genetic option for treatment. I'm assuming that will be part of the sit-down conversation on Friday with Morris. But I find myself in a very strange situation because I hear others saying their PSA went to 19 and they were very concerned about that.
Where was the needle biopsy, Peter?
I'm sorry?
Where did they needle biopsy, from a lymph node or from
a lymph node? From a lymph node.
From a lymph node.
Yeah, I went to Sloan Kettering did that.
Yeah, let us ask you a couple of questions here. Have they absolutely ruled out any possibility of infection?
Yes. The report, the preliminary report from the biopsies, indicates that they found cancer in the lymph node. Okay, that was the preliminary report. Most of this report, I don't have the vocabulary to actually understand what it says.
So, I mean, we can help you with that, but people make PSAs in unbelievably different volumes, and some people make a lot of PSA, and some people make almost no PSA. I will say this, and this is totally anecdotal, but the men who make lots of PSA usually respond very well to treatment. Jerry Pelfrey is not on the call today, but he was diagnosed de novo metastatic with a PSA over 3,000, I think 32.
3,000? Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And he has been on treatment and responded really, really well. And that was about 2 to 3 years ago. I could tell you, I can look it up, it doesn't matter. But my point is that oftentimes we see that we worry a lot more when you don't make PSA, right, because that seems to be the more difficult disease to treat than the guys who make a lot of PSA.
Okay.
So, the fact that you have a very high PSA and it seems quite sensitive to androgen deprivation therapy, I'm not sure is something to get too worried about. And my guess is that Morris has seen that before, and he'll tell you that. Now,
I'm assuming that will be part of the conversation on Friday. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, I think be assured that that's not unusual. The Relugolix or Orgovix is no different to any other LHRH drug, other than the fact that it's taken orally. I mean, it's different in the sense that some of them are agonists, some of them are antagonists. This is an antagonist but you don't have to worry your head about that at this point in time, because ultimately it's going to take out all of your testosterone.
It's doing that. It's doing that.
So did you measure your testosterone before you took the first dose of the drug?
Yes. Let's see. In February, I was at 362. In March, I was 324. And then at my 5-day mark of taking the Relugolix, I was at 95.
Okay. So.
And the way I feel right now, I'm probably at 0.
Okay. Well, again, this group will help you get the most out of whatever testosterone you've got in your body. There are some remarkable stories from in this group about what people are doing in your situation. So I don't want you to think that it's all over. And certainly Ken Anderson's under 60 group is a place that you should certainly join.
Okay.
But the biggest issue right now, and I personally, again, we're not docs, but from what we know, with a PSA as high as yours, you don't need a PSMA test. That Morris is 1,000% right. The Axiom is going to tell you as much as a PSMA would. Right. So the real issue is what's generating and why. And one question I would want to ask Morris is he aware of any genetic mutations that are associated with high PSA producers? Should I repeat that for you? Or did you
no, I got it, but explain it.
Well,
genetic in terms of, because I remember when the biopsy was done initially, my initial biopsy, that sample was sent for genetic testing and I was considered low risk. That was the result of that test. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different types of genomic testing. Len, do you I don't want to take over your chair, but you want to get into the genomic testing for Peter so we can set him up to ask the right questions with Michael Morris?
So the type of genomic testing you had, Peter, is what they do for guys with a Gleason 6 or low risk.
Right.
And that test is designed to determine what is the likelihood that your cancer will become aggressive or spread.
Right.
The other type of genetic test that I think you need, and I hopefully Morris would agree, is, well, two things. One is germline testing, which means did you inherit any genes that might promote prostate cancer? That's a blood test.
Uh-huh.
The other is to do a tumor tissue analysis. Genetic.
They're doing that. They set the sample for genetic testing. I'm assuming that will be ready on Friday also.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, they sent that in.
Yeah, because you are indeed a very puzzling case.
Yes.
Did Morris say anything about reevaluating your Gleason score, turning it over to their pathologist or some?
They did. They got the slides from the original biopsy. Just as a point of history, my urologist, when my PSA started to climb, wanted to do a second biopsy. I was resistant to that because the after effects of the initial biopsy were kind of graphic in terms of bleeding, in terms of, blood in my semen. And I kind of drew a conclusion that maybe, we shouldn't be poking a bunch of holes in my prostate and letting it bleed out into the surrounding tissue. That was my logic on that. So he sent me for the scans. The scans didn't find anything even in the prostate. So we were at a conundrum. He sent me to Philadelphia to see a specialist, Gormella, I think his name was, in Philadelphia. And Gormella punted. He didn't know either. So Morris at this point is not interested in doing a biopsy because it's traveled outside the prostate, and he said that that's what we need to address first. Is basically what he said. He used other language, but that's basically what he said. So I mean, at this point, my concern is that how long lasting the effects of the low testosterone will prevail. Like I said, I'm involved with a local support group. One of the gentlemen in that group was on Lupron, which is the injectable version, and his testosterone never came back up after he stopped taking the Lupron. It never returned, so that was a whole other conundrum that he had to deal with.
Well, how old was he, and how long?
He's 80. He was like 80. So I understand that. I understand that, but it's still a concern because at this point right now, my main concern, because I have no symptoms. My main concern is my wife and I are going away for our 21st wedding anniversary, the first week of June, to a rather expensive all-inclusive beach resort in St. Martin. And as things stand right now, she'll be going there with her brother. And I have no drive, and I don't even feel bad about it. That's the worst part. I don't even feel bad about it. I don't care. I don't even care.
Yeah, the drug you're on drives down your testosterone more rapidly than a drug like Lupron. That's why your PSA is going to drop more rapidly. But when you stop taking it, and hopefully sometime you will, your testosterone will rise much more quickly than someone who's on Lupron.
Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know.
That's a good news for you.
That's good news. That's good news.
Yeah. So I guess I think there's too many unknown variables here. We need to wait till you see Morris again and then come back and talk to us so we have more info. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Was that for Rick? Was that question for Rick, Lynn?
It was for Rick, but for you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lynn,
I mean, go ahead. Hold on one second, Joe. I'll just make this quick comment and then come in right after me. The one thing I want to say to you, Peter, is that the likelihood is, I just want to set your expectations. The likelihood is that whatever treatment you do right now, he's probably going to want to keep you on this type of hormone therapy for at least 18 months.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
And maybe longer, and he may want to add some other drugs. He may want to add some other drugs to it. Now, that means that you're going to be wrestling with this state of mind for a while, and that's why I really want you to start dialoguing with people like Ken Anderson and Joe Gallo, well, Ken Anderson in particular, because he has so much experience in this area and he's a younger guy. And so, Joe, why don't you comment, and then Ken, maybe you can just throw in your 2 cents for Peter initially. Go ahead.
The only thing that I wanted to throw in there that's not call it tangential, but if you do go for another biopsy, I would guess that you probably had the transrectal, right?
Yes.
You had the
yes.
Okay. I would suggest that you ask them about doing the transperineal, okay, where they go up through the perineum, and that's not just because of the reduced sepsis and all that kind of thing, but it also approaches the prostate differently. The transrectal approaches it in a lateral way, and the transperineal approaches it in a longitudinal way. And it allows them to get to more of the prostate than they can going through the rectum. Okay, so if you have something hiding there, that may help show it, but that would be just if you decide to go do another biopsy.
But wouldn't the PET scan with the Axeman show something? Something.
I can't tell you that with absolute certainty. No.
That was my thing,
Okay.
and that was my thing with the urologist, was that I am not gonna go.
Peter, we got to interrupt you because we got to get to some other people.
Okay.
And we're going around in circles here. But Ken, can you talk a little bit to Peter about this experience of going on hormone therapy as a younger man, and maybe share with some of the things that you've done and how you've handled it? There you go.
Well, I don't know. Did it come on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Great. Well, right now I'm at MD Anderson Banner in Gilbert, Arizona.
Oh.
So I'm sitting out in their courtyard because inside it was freaking cold. So Peter, yeah, come on the under 60 call. It's the second Thursday of the month in the same room. We start for you probably 8 o'clock. You're in Chicago, it might be 7 o'clock.
I'm in Jersey, so I'm on the East Coast.
All right. Well, you'll get a notice because I'm sure did Rick get your email?
Yeah. We'll make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But I would just say, I know I heard your comment about your brother-in-law's going with your wife on your bloody honeymoon. What are you talking about? I mean, you're going to be on ADT for a while, and it doesn't mean everything is over. You definitely are going to be able to hang out with her and go on her honeymoon, for Christ's sakes. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for you to stay home. And I know everything you're going through. I've been dealing with it for...
I'm not staying home.
Oh,
I'm not staying home.
I thought you were staying
I was being
home.
ironical. No, I was being ironical, saying that, I'm going with my wife, but, as far as my wife's concerned.
I'm happy.
No, I'm going. Are you kidding? I paid for it. I'm going.
Good. Good.
But,
physically staying active, as you'll hear me preach all the time. Oh, I'm happy you're going. So I can only say really, really, really with a lot of emphasis. Okay, go ahead, Len. I'm done.
Can I throw in one more very quick suggestion, and then we'll move on. Peter, you might also want to take a look at getting a micro ultrasound done. Okay. That procedure again is different. It's akin to like an MRI, but it's using ultrasound. And you happen to be in the neighborhood where you can get it done. You can get it done at Fox Chase, okay, in Northeast Philly. So you're not that far away. So you might want to look at that. If you need anything more on that, get a hold of me, and I'll help get you connected.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. David Muslin, since you're at an airport, I'm thinking maybe we better get to you before something happens there.
I'm not only at an airport, but I'm on the plane and we're about ready to take off. So keep going, and I'll catch up with you next week, Glenn. Thank you so much.
Okay, David. All right. How about if we go to Carlos?
There you go. Do you have audio?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on my phone. Just a quick update. As you recall, I got restarted on all my meds this past January. PSA has dropped down to 0.4. The last week was 0.3. So I've had a good response. I did get to Mayo finally. It took a little bit for that process to occur. And at this point, there's really no big change that's being proposed after having had spoken with Dr. Bryce. He's happy with where I am and wants to sort of wait a few more months to get re-imaged.
So far so good. I'll keep you posted.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you, Carlos. Does somebody have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how did you like Dr. Bryce? What was your reaction to Dr. Bryce, Carlos?
I am still trying to digest that. Part of the reason why is I had expected that he would be the one reviewing all my information, and perhaps he has, but he had a fellow who was actually did the intake and then I think presented to him, and then Dr. Bryce came in and generally summarized. I had wanted to go through my genetic changes, looking at my scan with him, and discussing other options. But at this point, I don't know that he has direct eyes on that information. So I've got an appointment in 6 weeks, and I'll just hit him up with saying, hey, I'm going to be asking about these 3 major components that I need some better information on in terms of where things are. But yeah, his basic approach was, yeah, you've got recurrence. Yeah, you're responding. Stay the course, and you're on Nubeqa. It's covered. Stay on that too. So that is where we are.
So a couple of things, Carlos. I know, I'm sort of preaching to the converted when I talk to a medical professional like yourself, but you got to write those questions down and hand them to him, because he would have stopped there and answered every one of those questions. And you cannot rely on these docs just spending the time with you unless you give them those written questions. You give them the written questions, they'll go through them. So next time you see him, make sure the questions are there and you hand them to him as you walk in. If you want to send them to him on the portal first, but for everybody on the call, you want your docs to answer the questions, put them in writing and hand it to him. And
I have to agree with you.
You know why? You hand him that record, he's got to put it in your record. If he hasn't answered your questions, he's got exposure. It's not a good reason, but it is the world we live in. So we say it time and time again, and hopefully that'll happen when you see him again in 6 weeks, and you'll come back and give us a better idea. I didn't realize that you were on the Nubeqa. I know that you had some issues with the enzalutamide. When did you start on the Nubeqa?
I actually have only been on it for about a week.
Ah, okay.
And I did have a very pointed question regarding, because my current oncologist, I think, well, he's unfamiliar with using any of the lutamides. So when he heard that I wasn't tolerating the enzalutamide, he wanted to go increasing my doses slowly. So start with 300 instead of the 600 twice a day. Sorry, 300 once a day, going to 200 once a day, and stop at 2 at night, 1 in the morning. I did pointed to ask Dr. Bryce about staying on 300 twice a day. He said, you've got a high AR, androgen receptor genetic makeup, and so if that works, you can stay on that, and we can increase the dose if we need to increase the dose. Interestingly, when I was on the enzalutamide, one of the reasons I had backed off of it from the 160 milligram daily dose for pills down to 3 was because after 6 months I was having quite a bit of swelling, and I couldn't cross my legs because my hips were so swollen and my legs had so much edema. I had to wear TED hose and ended up wearing hose up to my hips just to try to keep that under control. And it got a lot better with with the decrease in dose. Now I weigh 145, 150 pounds, so nobody can tell me it's dose related yet, but there may be something to that.
So who is it that doesn't, you feel, who is the oncologist you feel doesn't have the experience?
My current oncologist here in Tucson.
Oh, in Tucson, your local guy here in Tucson. Got it.
Exactly, yeah.
And who was it that got you, who was it that applied and got you the Nubeqa then?
My local guy signed off on it, but hesitatingly from the perspective that I don't have anybody else on this, and I don't know how you're going to react to it if you didn't tolerate the enzalutamide. So he was good enough to say, hey, if you're willing to try out, I'll go there for you.
Well, that's great. And how, did you, how long were you off the enzalutamide before you started the darolutamide?
It took about 2 months to get the darolutamide processed. It was only about a month for them to actually get the paperwork, but it took 3 consecutive weeks of calling me, of me calling weekly, talking to different people, presumably all at the same level of intake, and repeating everything from scratch. And finally, the last person saying, I don't know what's taking so long here. We should have had this to you, weeks ago. And I said, hey, third time, let's see if it works this time. And within a week, I had an email saying it's on its way. So I don't know. It was just, it's an insurance issue. The goofy things happen that way.
You're feeling? Can you tell yet how you're feeling on it, Carlos?
I am not dealing with the fatigue factor that I understood would be a component. Maybe that I'm not taking 600 at a time. But the biggest effect is that I am much more clear-minded than I was. Now, the Lupron has had its effect on me as I expected, but when I was on the enzalutamide for a month, I went from stupid to really stupid, and that was just, this is not going to fly for me. I've been here before, and I sort of just skated through and dealt with what I had to, but if I have an alternative, I had a chance to speak with Len, and he helped me understand a little bit more about it. We're still having a little dialogue about some of the components and associated medications that I now have to reconsider because different meds interact in different ways and either increase or decrease the availability of the lutamide, something I'd never really considered previous to this.
Okay. So Len, you're the Darrow expert. You and Peter, but we don't have Peter tonight.
Well, yeah, as Carlos said, I spoke to him when I was down in Florida. We were on the phone for about an hour talking about darolutamide. So I'm glad to hear that you are now on darolutamide, Carlos. I'm glad to hear that you have more mental clarity and less fatigue. That's great. That was the whole point of moving to darolutamide. It's good news.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll see. I mean, I think I nadered with the Lupron at 0.4, and we'll see if this takes me down to undetectable. And like I said, in another 6 weeks, I'll get a repeat blood work, and we'll see which way things are going. I'm also, if you recall, had decided to start on the estrogen patch to deal with the Lupron hot flashes, and that continues to work well. My last, I have a feeling it's actually complementing the Lupron. My last total testosterone is less than 1. So, or the free testosterone is less than 1. So it's like, okay, you went from, 2.5 to can't detect it. It's having some effect, I believe.
All right, I think we need to move on. Any questions for Carlos before we do that? All right, Jeff Markey, I think you said you were short on time.
Well, I was, no, I said that last week
They got to me so late, it was too late for me to do anything, to talk. So
Okay.
I've had major problems since then, and I wanted to know if people were familiar with this. On about 4 or 5 days ago, I was eating dinner, got up from the chair, and my back attacked me. I tried to straighten up my back, and the pain was a 9 or a 10. It was incredibly painful. I then loosened up a little bit, did it again. It was a 9 or a 10 again. Just killing me. 20 minutes later, I just had a lower back pain. The next day, my right hand attacked me. All of a sudden, my right hand became extremely painful. It was, I mean, just an 8 or a 9 on the pain scale. I touched my wrist just to see, and a burst of pain. 20 minutes later, I only get pain a little bit if I twist my arm in the wrong direction. Has anybody else had problems like this as a result of taking abiraterone and prednisone? I'm just wondering. I did put, with my back problem, I've had a back problem for over 20 years, lower back pain. And I found about this belt about 20 years ago. One of my clients had one. He says, oh, try it. And I was in so much pain, I was in the hospital getting Demerol, and it didn't help. And this belt, in 2 days, I forgot to put it on after my shower. Since then, whenever I've had a little bit of back pain, after 1 day, it took me 3 days after this, before the pain went away. And I have no pain at all in my back now. Anybody else had anything like this? I guess not. I'm also having a problem.
You say you've had chronic back pain, so anything could have triggered it. And
chronic. I would get it maybe once every year or two, and I haven't had it for 5 or 6 years. And I retired 5 years ago, so I don't really do anything that should have caused it. But go ahead. I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, so maybe not doing anything was the problem. I mean, were you exercising?
Well, yeah, I walk a mile and a half, 2 miles every day. I'm up and down constantly, and that's what I just did. That there was no reason for this, and that's why I'm wondering if the Abbey. I've got a lesion on L4. And that's it's a prostate cancer lesion, and L4 is where the pain is. And I'm just wondering, because of the fact that this is exactly where I've got the lesion is.
Well, let me say this, Jeff, because thank God I've never been in this situation, but everybody that I've ever known who complains of bone pain from prostate cancer says that it's a fairly constant pain. It's not a sudden pain that goes away. And if there's anybody on this call right now who has experienced pain from prostate cancer in the bone, could you address that with Jeff as to the type of pain? Do you get like a searing pain somewhere and then it goes away, or is it constant, or is it somewhere in between? Can anyone answer that? Pat Martin, go ahead.
You muted, Pat.
Yeah, I know. I was waving by. I have to leave. I didn't mean I want to.
Oh,
Y'all
okay.
have a good evening.
Thanks. And anyone, Jake, do you have any input on that, or Ken, do you have any input on that?
You know, I can only say that you're absolutely right. I don't think a random pain. Is my microphone working?
Yes, you're great. We hear you.
Good. For some reason, you know, I have the same kind of thing. I've been on Abby for about 1.5 years. If I don't stretch my back muscles, and if I bend over to pick something up without stretching, I'll get a pretty serious pain in my back. And it's a muscle-related pain, no question. It's not cancer bone pain, because cancer bone pain is not something that, you know, just comes and goes. once it starts, I think it's pretty easy to say that the only way you get rid of it is an opioid. So, or maybe Aleve 900 or something. So you probably were experiencing exactly what I do from time to time, but all I can say is stretch out your back muscles because it's a muscle-related pain. I'm 90% sure.
Has anybody had a problem keeping their weight on Abby? I've been having a real problem eating enough food to keep my weight up.
I would smoke some marijuana. That'll help your appetite.
Help. It doesn't help.
Doesn't help. Huh.
No. No, it doesn't increase my. Well, thank you.
Jeff, try getting there's a small pamphlet. It's called Treat Your Own Back. It's by a world famous physiologist, Robin McKenzie. It's a classic in physical therapy. I've used it. I've had chronic back pain, for decades, and this thing works miracles for me.
I don't have chronic back pain. My son does. I only got it like once a year at the most. And the belt that I got, it's called a Bacaline, just totally fixes it. I mean, every time it happens, the next morning I forgot to put it on after a shower. It is so incredible how well that belt works. Well,
okay. Well, it sounds like you have a solution.
Really?
Okay, can we move on now to Julian Morales?
Oh, can I just say one thing? I put for Peter Hart, I put some information in the chat window for you, and also for Lee, I put some information in the chat window for you. I just want to make sure both of you saw the contact details I put in there.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Julian, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Yeah, just a quick update. I did talk to the brachytherapy oncologist today, and he's the understanding he would want to do the HDR brachy boost, but the question comes in, is it before or after the IMRT?
Mm.
And we will still continue the ADT.
Yeah. What did he want to do, Julian?
The HDR, he wanted to do it before.
He wanted to do it before. This is really the style of the radiation oncologist. Some guys like to do it. Some ROs want to do the brachy first. Some do it after. In my own case, I did the IMRT first, and then. But then I know other guys that have done it the other way around. I don't honestly don't. The only person I think that might know if there's a difference would be Alan Edel. He would know if there's ever been any studies. I've never seen anything. So I would just have to say, if you're confident with your radiation oncologist, go with whichever way around he suggests.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting for her, Dr. Verma. They're going to talk today and let me know pretty soon. So whichever way they go, I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah. Like I say, I don't think one way. Anybody or anyone else on here who's done brachy plus IMRT plus hormone therapy, other than myself, and Julian's about to do it. Anyone else done that combination on the call?
Rick, I haven't done the combination, but this is from PCRI 5 years ago, according to Dr. Peter Grimm, the father of Reiki and IMRT, who trained hundreds and hundreds of doctors around the country to do those procedures. According to him, it doesn't matter either way.
Okay, so now you have it from the horse's mouth, the indirect horse's mouth, Julian. So, yeah. Thanks, Joe. Thank you. So, thank you. what I do want to say to you is that I think this choice is going to give you the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
If it were me, I'd be very confident in this choice.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm
I had
sorry you had to do it. I'm sorry the disease came back and it didn't work the first time. But I think where you are, and I'm much happier seeing you do this than just doing IMRT plus hormone therapy. I think we navigated you in the right direction.
Yeah, but the thing is, and what I'd want to tell the group is you have to push your doctors, because my radiation oncologist only want to do MRIT and
I know.
And then when I talked to you, I said, well, as they talked about the ASCENDE RT trial, and the bracket guy talked about today, and in fact, he talked to the lady, I think it was, in Canada that I was doing that study, and she said, yeah, this is the gold standard.
Well, I think what you need to do is, as soon as this call's over, you need to go onto our website to the shop, which is under Support Us, and you need to buy yourself a t-shirt that says, be your own best advocate. And then you need to wear that when you go in, okay? Because that's why that's what we hope you'll take away from these sessions.
Yes.
That you are your own best advocate. We can guide you, but you're the one that's in front of your doctor. Len, do you or Ken, do you want to comment on that?
On be your own best advocate?
Yeah.
Hey, that's what we're all about here. That's the most important thing, guys. You want shared, informed decision-making. That's what we offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Pleasure.
Julian, thank you.
Julian, when will you start?
I don't know right now. He does the, if I go with the HDR first, he does it on Wednesdays, and it's pretty much an all-day affair.
And how long have you been on hormone therapy?
Since early April.
Okay, so you're in good shape. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, and my Dr. Verma told me, yeah, we're in good shape. That's, but we'll need to do, start the therapy soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Carl Foreman, you're on deck.
Okay. So my ongoing journey, as some of you may have been following, appreciate Rick setting me up with Bryce Olson. And Bryce actually, I'm not sure, not too long ago, he actually did some kind of a presentation here, right, in front of the group.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really a presentation, but he came on and it was his first time, so he introduced himself.
Oh, okay. So Bryce had told me about his experience with Dr. Tagawa at Weill Cornell. Bryce lives in Portland, Oregon, and Dr. Tagawa practices in New York. And Bryce was in New York to have a AC-225 treatment at Weill Cornell, and he had a lot of issues and not a very pleasant experience. So I had told him that Tagawa is about to start a new trial, which, by the way, was posted 4 days ago on clinicaltrials.gov, with the combination of the AC-225, J591 with lutetium 177 PSMA INT. So it's I guess it's a kind of a special version of each type of drug, if we call it a drug. And so the AC, and we're talking about beta and alpha. So each of them, one is a beta, one is an alpha. And the combination of the two has been used successfully overseas, actually. And I've spoken with a a gentleman who had it done in Heidelberg, Germany, about a year and a half ago. His PSA was over 700. His PSA is now 0.08. And he had 4 treatments of this combination therapy. So I am meeting with Dr. Tagawa next Tuesday, and we're going to discuss his trial. It is a phase 1. The AC225, they're looking for just going up from whatever the criteria is, from 30 from the first one to 40 for the second one. So I've already had my discussions. We talked about Dr. Stein at Columbia Presbyterian, who had sent me an email. He says, I want to talk to you because I want to convince you not to pursue chemo at this time. So I had a discussion with him. I also, this past Friday, I had a meeting with Dr. Soraya at Rutgers Cancer Institute, and it was a similar outcome. He said, you know, the chemo will always be there for you. For this particular trial, which has possible tremendous success, they are both saying, go for it. And we'll see what Dr. Tagawa says on Tuesday.
All right, so Carl, once upon a time, I think they were requiring prior chemo before either AC225 or lutetium-177. They didn't mention that as a prerequisite, or maybe they changed the criteria.
No, they did not, and the details are on the clinicaltrials.com, and it shows you the, or .gov, and shows you the requirements.
Okay. Which are what, metastatic, castrate-resistant?
Yes, I have it up on my screen.
Probably failing at least one second-line anti-androgen.
Right. Let's see. Brief summary. This is a phase 1/2 dose escalation study of 225 AC administered together with 177 lutetium. The 2 study drugs are, etc. Both drugs are designed to deliver radiation to prostate cancer cells. They are known as radionuclides, conjugates, okay, etc. First phase of the study, phase 1, will determine the highest dose of the study drug that can be safely given. The second phase of the study, phase 2, will determine effectiveness of the drug combination in patients with prostate cancer. I can give you the NCT number. If you are looking, NCT 04886986. That's the NCT number. It was just posted a few days ago. They are looking to enroll approximately, well, it says 33 patients. And then the phase 2 will have a somewhat smaller number. I assume it's because of the people from the phase 1 who may not have shown positive effect from the treatment. But it sounds
Carl, it's Ken Anderson. I just wanted, I listened to last week's call and I heard you mention a little bit about Bryce. You know, I've chatted with him a bunch, and I think the one thing that everyone's missing is that he is also in a phase 1, and there was a series of different arms in order to gauge the dosage, and he was in the highest dosage. He was on the 7th. He was in the highest dosage for that clinical trial. So they're still trying to find out how much is the right dose, and it sounds like you're going to go through the same thing.
Not exactly because by combining
no, I understand
it with
it's a different trial. No, I know it's a different trial.
Right,
and I know there's 2 things. I know.
It's 2 drugs, right?
So it's different, but again, a phase 1 is looking at how much can you take. So they're going to take a few of the guys and send them close to the limit. So you have to keep that in mind. And that's why Bryce is having a hard time, because he's got the max dose. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the initial dose, whatever it means, 30 kBq/kg, and then it goes to 40. after in 8 weeks, and that's it. It doesn't go anything beyond that.
And what was Bryce's dose? Do you know?
No.
I would ask him. Make sure you're not taking the highest dose.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck with that, Carl.
Okay.
Let's see. We have to hear from Ravi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello? Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to first update you and then get back to this very mysterious issue of my urine smelling sweet and fruity and see if you guys have any more of a vision on that. Just to recall, I'm a Gleason 9 in 2 areas with 100% of the core in one of those areas affected. I had a PSA of 4.7, so which is not all that high. And it's been 7 weeks since I've been on ADT and bicalutamide. The ADT is Eligard injection in my belly. I had my PSA testing done a couple of days ago and it's come down nicely to 0.3. Testosterone level, the total is 8, is down from a level of 400 prior to the therapy. And my doctor thinks that's pretty good. So first I want to know if anyone has any feedback on that. I see. Okay, good. That's good to know. Then the second thing that I want to ask is, someone was talking about having done the biopsy of the lymph node. Now, in my case, right at the start, they had said that statistically speaking, given my case, given the severity of the aggressiveness of the tumor, that there would be a 20% chance of it spreading to the lymph. So as I heard someone talk about this biopsy, it just occurred to me why they didn't do a lymph biopsy in my case when they did the biopsy of the prostate. Does anyone know why they wouldn't have done that?
Well, did they do an MRI scan that showed suspicious lymph nodes?
No, they didn't.
Well, that.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, they did an MRI. There was nothing. There was nothing seen in regards to lymph nodes. The seminal vesicles are affected. The prostate is affected. That's all that they could tell. But the doctor felt that statistically speaking, I stood a 20% chance of my lymph nodes being affected. So I was just curious, why wouldn't they have done the biopsy to begin with?
Ravi, they won't biopsy lymph nodes unless they know that there is evidence of disease in there. So if they didn't see evidence of disease at the time, when exactly did they determine that you had disease in your lymph nodes?
No, they haven't determined it. No, he just said that statistically speaking, based upon experience, you stand a 20% chance, given that you have a Gleason 9 and it is there are so many, like 8 out of 12 of the samples were affected, that and the seminal vesicles are affected, that I stood a chance, a 20% chance of it affecting the lymph nodes.
So I guess here's the issue. If they biopsied the lymph nodes and they found they were positive, would it change the treatment that you're doing?
I don't know. I mean, I've not started on my radiation yet. I know that they're going to target the lymph nodes, but I imagine that if they found it specifically in the lymph nodes, right, they could be more precise about it, isn't it?
Not really.
I see.
because if they are going to give you full pelvic girdle radiation, then they've already made the assumption that it could be in all your lymph nodes. And so the protocol for pelvic girdle radiation is right across the pelvic girdle, covering all the lymph nodes. That's what I got. So they're not going to change anything. It's not like target a lymph node if it's in the pelvic girdle. They can target lymph nodes, and sometimes they do if they don't give you pelvic girdle radiation. But I personally happen to be very much in favor of pelvic girdle radiation for somebody who has disease like yours, because it's shown to have much better results. And so the reason why was probably because it wouldn't have much changed what they were going to do anyway. Now, if you had recurrent disease, in other words, you hadn't been treated before, and then you were treated, and then the disease came back, and they were trying to see where's the disease come back, has it come back? They might want to biopsy a lymph node at that point. But in your particular case, they're saying, we figure it's right across the pelvic girdle with the Gleason 9. And what did you say? I don't have that number. What did you say your original PSA was?
4.7.
4.7. Okay, right. Yeah, I do. I do have it. And now you're down to
0.3. Within 7 weeks of my ADT, it's come down to 0.3.
Okay, which is great. And so, I think that's the answer to your question. But other people wanted to chime in, so go ahead.
This is John. Ravi's situation is very much like mine was when I started out. And I also had a significant chance of having lymph node involvements, but I think that is a good reason to have radiation treatment rather than a prostatectomy, for example. The prostatectomy procedure gives the surgeon access to lymph nodes, and in that case, they would sample a bunch of them. Like in my case, they found some positive lymph nodes for the prostatectomy, but they didn't get them all. But I think in a regular biopsy for a normal lymph node that's not swollen up, I don't even see how they could technically do it from the outside.
I see. Okay,
So
thank you. That's very helpful.
I agree with Rick based on my experience that radiating the whole pelvis is the best thing to do when you have a good chance of lymph node involvement, because I don't think you can really go in there and get it without an operation.
Okay, thank you. That's very reassuring.
And even the operation will probably miss them.
Yeah, I'm not going to have an operation there, but they are going to radiate the pelvic girdle.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last point that I have is I had my blood test, comprehensive blood test done. And you may recall I had brought this up in a meeting before, that I'm finding this strange, sweet-smelling, fruity-smelling urine, and that's been going on for about a month or more, and no one is able to. I asked the oncologist about it, and he didn't think it had anything to do with the drugs, and so my primary care thought that it may have something to do with perhaps an onset of diabetes or whatever. So we did the blood test, and it's all a little bit confusing. My glucose fasting level is 89, which is normal. My A1C level is 6.4, which puts me in pre-diabetic, right? But in my case, I've been on this level of 6.2, 6.3 for years now. So when I was at that level, my doctor had said, well, your level is not going up. so I don't need to put you on any medication. This is probably the way it is for you. You're flat. So that's that. A1C is 6.4, and then the fructosamine level is 310, which is above the normal. The normal is 205 to 285, and I was wondering if anyone thought that if a combination of this is what is causing the fruity smell, and whether I should really take the threat of diabetes seriously and go on diabetic medication. I've not had a discussion with my doctor yet.
I could make another comment here. Again, this is John again. Again, similar with me, except for I don't have the urine smell. That smell is usually ketone bodies, which are signs of diabetes, but they're detectable in the urine. So if you have ketone bodies in the urine, I can't understand why they haven't been detected.
Yeah, there are no ketone. The urine came back normal. There are no ketone bodies.
Did you have the smell on the day of the test?
No, that's interesting.
Try to get a urine sample when you're having that smell, and if in fact there are ketone bodies in there, it does then, despite the fact that you have a moderate A1C and a normal fasting glucose, I think it would be fair to conclude that you're having some spikes of hyperglycemia and do deserve some metformin or something like that.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to have to move on. We only have a few minutes left. We still have a few guys to get to, and I want to give John Ivory a chance to deliver a PSA, public service announcement, not prostate-specific antigen. Go ahead, John.
Are you there, Mr. Ivory? Yes.
I was using Zoom controls rather than GoToMeeting controls to unmute myself. Yes, tomorrow night, Jenny Greenfield is our third performer in our Solo Arts Heal performance series with the Marsh Theater in San Francisco. It'll be a 1 hour event, and he'll be performing songs that remind him that his mother used to listen to on the ukulele for about 20 minutes. And then Rick will be interviewing him about how the arts have helped him emotionally heal. So the timing isn't great at specific time because it's the San Francisco Theater, but it's 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern. If you can't make it tomorrow night, there will be a recording and it will be available in the future as well. Thanks. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
And we just had somebody come in, Barbara. Barbara, if you are looking for the MS meeting, it starts at 30 minutes after the hour, whatever. I don't know what time zone you're on, but 8:30 or 7:30 or 6:30 or 5:30 here. But the MS meeting will follow this meeting. Oh, and look, Ted Healy just came in.
Hey,
Hello,
folks.
Ted Healy. How are you? We haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, the time here is a little difficult. I'm usually walking my dog or stuff like that.
Oh my God.
God, rough life.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
But
listen,
no,
I
I'm grateful
want
to
to
be here.
say one thing to you, and it's in front of everybody, but I'm so grateful that you were able to help Jerry Deans with his diving. Jerry is
I'm doing what I can, Rick. I'm doing what I can. That's a tough call. It's so expensive down there. That's one of the reasons why we left. Is the cost of living. But I've reached out to everyone I know. I always just checking to see if I got something back. But yeah, if I can do anything for him, I used to dive right there where he's going. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Anytime, Rick.
Back to Len.
Okay, we've got Frank Fabish and Gary Peters still to come. So guys, try and be as brief as you possibly can. Let's start with Frank.
I met with my oncologist after getting the results of my CT scans and the bone scan. The problem I ran into is I was trying to interpret them, and I passed on that the nodules in my lungs, they hadn't found that they decreased in size with the chemo treatment. And I did take the advice and presented a list of questions to my oncologist. First, my blood draw was very positive, and somebody was asking about Relugalex. I went on that 2 months ago after being on Firmagon, and my results on the blood test, they thought my PSA had bottomed out, but apparently it hadn't. It went from 0.14 to 0.09. So that was positive. My white blood cell count went down from 10.82 to 5.79. My hemoglobin stayed just about the same, 11.4. Platelets went down some to 220 from 270. And my testosterone from October went from 15 to 9. So all that was positive. And I found out, which I didn't know, and I should have asked for this back in October when they did my original scans. They never reviewed those with me, but my questions prompted the oncologist to review the scans and compare them. And he brought them up on the same screen for me and synchronized them so that you could see with the cuts that were being done in the CT scans, the comparison of the scans from September the 29th to April the 22nd. And they were dramatic. And he said, you thought the chemo wasn't that effective, but he said, which I didn't know at the time, is you had a series of smaller nodules on the lungs that we didn't really identify because we were concerned about the 3 larger ones, but they're gone now. And he showed me in the scans. And in addition, he said on your 3 nodules in the lungs, they are lighter in color, which shows they're less dense. And he said, so in my view, that was positive, and the chemo, he said, I thought was 90 to 95% effective. He said, so I'm prepared at this time to continue on with the Relugalex. He said that, as he originally said, I want to add apalutamide, and he went ahead and they're requesting approval from the VA to add the apalutamide to my treatment. And then he said, I'm going to see you back here in 6 weeks. We'll do another blood draw. And he said, in 3 months, you'll be back, and I'll consider whether to do another CT scan at that time. But he said, I'm satisfied, and I'm ready to move on. He said, what my objective is to get you on a 6-month follow-up and to continue to monitor your condition with CT scans.
Well, it shows that PSA is not always the best marker for your progress. Sometimes particularly for chemo, scans can reveal a lot more. So that's good news, Frank. I'm glad to hear that. And no doubt after they add in the apalutamide, you'll probably go down to undetectable.
Yeah, that's what he thought. He said he wanted to get it down as low as he can possibly get, and then start to monitor it and see what happens in the lungs. So it was a very pleasant surprise, a positive discussion, and all prompted by the list of questions that I gave him. And as Rick said, he went down through that list to answer them, each one of the questions that I had, about 7 questions. And it helped understand it better and his point of view.
Okay, I'm glad Rick helped you out there, as he always does. Gary Peters, can we go on to you?
Can I just say, Frank, that's such great news. I'm really, really happy to hear that, and I'm so pleased, not just for us, but for you, that they were able to identify a reduction in those lung lymph nodes, and so at this point, it doesn't seem like you need to follow in Joe's footsteps.
Yeah, both my wife and I came out of the appointment thrilled, and that was absolutely great news. And also, don't try to interpret the results yourself.
I like that too. We always say be your own best advocate, but we don't say be your own best doctor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gary, you're up.
So I promised 30 seconds, and I was going to make a comment about the PYL PET, which we've already covered. So I'm done.
Well, congratulations, Gary. You did it, less than 30 seconds.
Gary, you cost us. I had money on that, Gary. I had money on that you were going to take more than 30 seconds, and now you cost me, Gary. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Gentlemen, the bewitching hour is here. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just want to say that you did a heck of a job there, Len, getting through everybody. And Jim Barnes just left. I was just going to check in and make sure he didn't have anything, but I guess he didn't. And yeah, I think that would be great. I do want to say I put the link into our Solo Arts Heal page, and from there that will take you to the link on the Marsh page. The Marsh asks us not to push out the direct link for various reasons. I'm sorry, but you can find it. Jimmy isn't on tonight, so I can say this without his head getting too big for his sombrero. But he's really a great performer. And I think that if you can stay up that late tomorrow night, if you're back east, you'll have some fun listening to him. And he's never short of a few words. So it should be a really nice show tomorrow. It's 60 minutes. It's a real 60 minutes. They don't go over. They start on time. They finish on time. They keep us on our toes. And I also want to give a huge shout out to John Ivory, because he is doing so much work behind the scenes to make sure that these solo Marsh performances go on. We've got a few lined up, and if any of you are performers or any of you know anybody else who are performers, any type of disease, any type of performance, let us know and we'll schedule you. Well, you have to audition for Mr. Ivory first, okay? But is that fair? I see your microphone's on there, Mr. I.
That's fair, but I'm looking for amateurs that can actually have actually performed or would like to perform and are going to be ready for the day when they sign up.
Okay. Now you heard it. Now you heard it direct. Okay. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Len, I'll let you close.
Yes, Jackson Nogales, AKA John Ivory. I did see your Marsh performance. It was fantastic. I saw the interview following that with Rick. Rick did a great job, as you did. So these are really worth watching, guys. I endorse it. Have a good night. We'll see you
Thanks, Len. Appreciate it.
next time.
Good job, Len.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.